No, this is what I want to ask you before I forget about deafness.
Power exchange.
So, have you done shows with a sign language interpreter?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So, for people that don't know, this is a thing that happens in stand-up, and the first time it's usually quite a surprise where you'll be at a club or you're at a theater, and they go, "Oh, there's a hearing impaired person in the audience," and you're like, "Okay," and they go, "So there'll be an interpreter on stage with you," and you're like, "What do you mean?" They're like, "Well, if somebody calls ahead and says, I'm hearing impaired, they can request, and we will, by law, provide an interpreter." So you are literally standing, doing your show, and then depending on the size of the stage, maybe 10, 20 feet away or whatever, there's an interpreter throughout your act.
Right.
But you'd be one of probably the only, if not the only comedian who actually speaks sign language. Do you interact then differently with them?
I do a thing sometimes. They kind of hate it. I mean, every comedian kind of does the same thing where they play with. I've never had a bad show with an interpreter.
They're
by the way.
It's so
always
much fun.
Good. It always adds this like weird new dynamic where you can kind of play with it. But usually, what comics' instinct is to like make them say something
sexual
off
or
color, and then everybody laughs and we all have a good time, and then the interpreter goes home and cries.
Yeah.
I will do a thing where, because their job, and no one knows this except me and the deaf people, their job is to not only interpret what I'm saying, but to say what the deaf person is signing. Right, that's the second half of the job.
Say what the deaf person.
So usually the way you interact with a sign language interpreter is that you say your act and they sign it, right? But there's a second half of the job, which is a signing person signs and they take the mic and they say what you are signing. You know what I'm saying?
No.
The deaf person signs, and the hearing interpreter has to speak in English what they're signing.
Oh.
That's the second half of the job. And it doesn't ever happen in a comedy show because that's not there. But I worked for 15 years as an interpreter. I did.
I thought you meant at the comedy show. That's why I was like, wait, I've never had that bit.
Well, that's the thing that I will do because I'm the only one that can do it. Sometimes in the right circumstances, I will pretend they don't know who I am.
Yeah.
So I'll pretend like, you know what? I'm going to try this. This doesn't look that hard.
I'm just going to move my fingers.
And I give them the mic. I go, you're supposed to sign what I say, right? And they go, you're supposed to say what I sign. They go, I guess. And I hand them the mic and I start like kind of flapping my hands. And they think I'm just fucking with them and being like the most ignorant comedian ever. And then I slowly like morph it into sign language. And then I'll do a bit. Now that is a funny bit when an interpreter is trying to do like a blue joke or something. And they're trying to catch up. And I'm like correcting them. I'm like, no. I said my balls were filled when I went to the Folsom Street Fair. They were full. I got pissed on in Dory
And
Alley.
you're doing it all in perfect sign language.
I will morph it into perfect sign language and force them to say that. That's a fun bit.
Does it fade on you if you don't use it? Because I mean, do you still use it quite a bit?
I use it because my mom, I still sign to my mom, but I'm rustier than I used to be. When I was right before I transitioned into full-time stand-up, I was like at the heights of my powers. Yeah. I was working on the internet. Webcams were invented. When I was a little kid, I would have to call my mom, and the way that I would call my mom is I would call on a phone, like a regular phone, to a service, and there would be an operator that would pick up. The operator would hear my voice, and then they would call, and they had this thing called a TTY. It was a teletype machine, and you would type the message. And so, me and my friends used to I would fuck with my friends and call them and be like, I would like call my drug dealer.
Yeah.
He was very mad when I did this. I thought it was funny, know, because I call him and be like, yeah, I need a 20 sack. And he'd be like, get off the phone. Do not ever call me with the, I was oh, it's fun. We're having a good time. But then they invented webcams. And so an interpreter would do it. And it was so much smoother. And I was that interpreter. So that was very surreal because I used to call the people. I used to be the person calling. And, I would call my mom and the phone would pick up, and it'd be like, hello, my son. I'd be like, oh, mom, are you a black dude? And at that time,
that's right. Hello, my son.
That would be the interpreter calling you.
It would be the operator, right?
Yeah.
So now it's an interpreter. So the conversations got a lot smoother, right? And you could call any kind of call. So I did that for 5 years. Any kind of call you can imagine. Anything that a deaf person's calling for, you're calling for too. And I'll tell you the, I'm trying to think which one. This one's a good one. This dude called one time and I could see on his face like he was agitated. There was something up with him. And he's like, call the number. And I go, oh, okay. And I press connect. And it's a police station. It's like, whatever. Austin Police, can I help you? And the guy starts signing. And my job, one of the rules in interpreting is a big rule. Never, ever do third person. Never say, he said, he wants a pizza.
Right.
Always say, I want to order a pizza.
Yeah.
You can get fired for doing third person because it's like this like reminder that the deaf person isn't in charge of the call, and there's like a person
Right.
like a
He's
helper.
saying that he wants. Yeah.
You don't ever do
Right.
that. You can be fired for this. So that's a rule. So I call, and the cop picks up, and we start the call. I'm like, I'm a sign language interpreter. We're about to begin. And then, bam, the guy starts signing. He's like, fuck you, motherfucker. Fuck the police. You're fucking surveilling me. I know you're surveilling me. I'm like, oh, he's on meth. Okay, this guy's, this is like day 4. He hasn't slept in days.
Yeah.
And he's like, fuck you, you fucking stupid fucking pig. Fuck you. And the cop, unflappable, professional. The cop's just like, sir, if you don't calm down and tell me what's happening, I'm not going to be able to help you. I understand that you're upset, and I'm signing all this shit. And he's like, you can fucking suck my fucking dick, you stupid pig. I'm stoked at this point.
Yeah.
I'm able to call a cop a pig with total impunity.
Yeah.
I'm loving
Yeah,
it.
it's
I'm
rad.
doing snorting noises. Everything's good, right? I'm just like, fuck you, fuck you. The cop's like, sir, I want to help you, but I can't help you. He's like, you can help me by sucking this dick, you little bitch. Fuck you. And then he signs, fuck your mother.
Ugh.
And there's silence on the phone. And I go, and the cop goes, what'd he say? I go, oh, hold on, just getting some clarification here. And the guy goes, fuck your mother. And I go, he said fuck your mother. He said it. He said, I didn't say that. He said fuck your mother. The cop loses it. Full out of, he's like, fuck my mama, fuck you, motherfucker, fuck. And then they're just going back and forth, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. And I hung up the call. Luckily, nobody, it was such a dramatic situation that
Holy
nobody
shit.
noticed. I jumped out of
Wow.
professional composure. I could have been fired.
And you ended it.
Well, I didn't hang up.
Yeah.
The call came to a lovely conclusion.
Yeah.
I don't think that guy
Jesus.
ever got help.
Holy
That's
cow.
crazy that's what throws people off the
Well, they
ledge.
shouldn't.
is
That's my
your
mom. That's my
bro.
mom. Don't
Your
talk about my
mom.
mama. I had another call once. These two dudes called, and they go again on their faces. They're like, okay, call. And I go, what's up with these faces, man? Why are you? And then the call picks up, and I realize immediately why. It's like tons of fat-titted, horny babes are fingering their juicy slits waiting for you right now. Press 5 to be connected. And I'm signing it. I'm like, tons of fat-titted, horny babes are fingering their slits right now. Press 5 to be connected. But then I got to tell these guys, I go, guys, I got to tell you, I'm sorry, but I can't press 5. Like, I'm not allowed. This is a pay-to-play situation. This is phone sex. I can't connect you. And they go, oh my God, no, we don't want that. Phone sex, no. And I go, oh, whoa, this is hilarious. Like, wrong number. Oh, they were trying to call some other number. This is like a weird. They go, no, we don't want phone sex. We want a woman to come to our houses and have sex with us.
Oh, right. Phone sex would suck.
Yeah. I go, oh, I mean, you mean a prostitute? They go, yes, yes. Do you know anybody? I go, and like, I'm a CODA, and I'm a child of deaf adults. Like, in my DNA is the desire to help. And any time I spent my first 15 years of my life in a non-consensual sign language interpreting internship with my mother. Like, I signed every doctor's appointment she ever had, gynecological appointments. Life was good. And then I started getting in trouble. The AA stuff, I started signing at behavioral meetings of which I was the subject. So it would be about me, right? It would be like, this guy fucking, pulled the fire alarm, broke the window. This guy sucks. And I would have to like, you got to kind of shave it a little bit.
Yeah.
You can't quite be like, he's cool. Because then my mom would be like, why'd you call me in here to say he's cool? So you have to be like, well, he's got some problems. Or we think he's charming. Maybe a future in stand-up comedy. Like,
Wow. So you do like a full, like, kind of tilt of what the conversation,
but
like
you
a
had to
couple
give-
degrees.
Yes, a couple degrees. You had to like seed enough information that it would make sense, but not.
He's been misbehaving.
Yeah, but we really do think he shows promise or
Yeah.
whatever. Anyway, so it's in my blood. I want to help deaf people. But I go, guys, I can't. I don't know. You're out of state. I'm not a pimp.
Yeah.
I don't
How
know
do I do
anybody.
this?
And the look of disappointment on those two guys' faces when they hung up. I still don't know if they got laid. It was
I
sad.
know, because how do
Moshe,
you
they
find?
did. They did.
You think
Tell
they did?
yourself they did.
That's
They did.
nice.
You have to find a person that understands sign language like a pimp.
A deaf pimp.
Yeah,
deaf
it's so
pimp.
hard to find.
Well, that's a whole thing, by the way. Sex workers for the disabled. I mean, deaf people, they get
I know
laid.
there's the sex
I hope
worker
so.
for like the guy that is like completely immobile. It's like a caretaking sex worker, right?
Yeah, and
Like,
when you learn about sex workers for the disabled, you start all your judgment that you may or may not have had for sex work starts to like dribble out of your brain. You go, this
yeah.
is like because we convince ourselves. Deaf people, I don't even think count in this world because deaf people, they're interacting in a pretty able-bodied way, But people who are severely disabled, who can't move, they're as horny as we are.
Right.
And we like to think of them as like, oh no, you get disabled and then your sex drive goes away. But that's for us, so that we don't have to think about how you can't even masturbate. Some people are so disabled they couldn't take care of
And they
themselves.
want to.
And they
it's
want to.
Terrible.
And so these sex workers that work with the disabled, they're fucking heroes.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
Straight up.
Straight up, homie.
Straight up, homie. No cap.
Damn, no cap.
That's how I
Cap.
talk.
Yeah.
Oh, you just watched a YMH highlight. Did you love it? Why don't you have more fun? Click around. Click here, click there, click everywhere. Put a clicker in your beehole. Look, try it out. Have more fun. Why don't you subscribe? That way, every time a video drops, you can be notified. You don't have to think about it. Just do it, man. You're not going to miss a moment of denim. Pull your jeans up, subscribe.